Today, we're going to dive into how analyzing language can be used to help us determine themes of texts. Let's look at this chunk from chapter 21 of our book, Two Roads. It's a big thing here, I knew now. Being labeled as a white student here at Chilagi was almost as bad as being seen as an Indian in the white world. Maybe you are not in danger of being driven off your land or even shot, but you still might be made to feel like an outsider a lot of the time. I'd come to realize just how lucky I was not to be seen that way. But it still didn't mean that I felt good about seeing people treated bad just for being born who they were. Let's take a look at this last sentence. Before we dig into that last sentence, we're going to get a quick reminder on identity, which is part of one of our guiding questions for this module. So one of our guiding questions is, what factors influence our identity? As a reminder, identity it encompasses the qualities, beliefs, personality, looks, language, or even expressions that make up who a person is or a group. Our personal identities often change over time, and that's what is happening to Cal in Two Roads. Reading and analyzing a character's exploration of their own identity can often lead us toward possible themes for those texts. So we're going to take a look at that last sentence from our chunk and break it down to better understand what the author is trying to say. Let's look at this chunk, being born who they were. This part of the sentence is talking about the student's race, or in this case, their perceived race, which is just as important a lot of the time. Remember that everybody who is attending Chilagi boarding school is Native American to some extent. Some are more Native American than others. In this case, they're not talking about the Native American blood that people have. They are talking about whether or not people look Native American or whether or not they look white. That's what we mean there by perceived race. We also have this little word in here, just for being born who they were. Just in this sense is being used the same way as simply for being born who they were. A little fun fact about this phrase contains a gerund, which is when a verb ends in ing, but is acting as a noun. In this case, the word being is a gerund. Let's take a look at another part of the sentence. We have seeing people treated bad. The word bad in the sentence is an adverb because it's describing a verb, which is treated. Normally, to be super grammatically correct within standard English, this word would say badly, seeing people treated badly. However, we can make a guess that the author wrote bad on purpose so that we are staying within the language variety that Cal uses instead of a more formalized standard English like your teachers might use. With this phrase, we can start to make an inference. So remember that an inference is when we use text evidence that the author has given us with our own background knowledge. We can make an inference about how Cal is feeling. Cal probably feels bad or even sympathetic when he sees people treated badly just for being born who they are. The text describes Cal as being a really sensitive and caring character. It's likely that he's going to care about the pain that he sees other characters and other people going through. So let's look at the sentence as a whole. But it still didn't mean that I felt good about seeing people treated bad just for being born who they were. Let's look at how the sentence starts. This sentence starts with the word but. Starting the sentence with this word lets us know that Cal is going to contradict or go against something he had previously said. So in the sentence right before this, he had said, I'd come to realize just how lucky I was not to be seen that way. So he's saying, even though he recognizes that he's lucky to not be perceived as white, he then follows it up by saying, but that doesn't mean that I feel good. So even though I feel lucky, I don't feel good. Now that we're pretty clear on what this sentence is saying, and we've analyzed the parts of it, we can start looking at how this sentence might help us analyze this text for theme. But it still didn't mean that I felt good about seeing people treated bad just for being born who they were. This sentence is highlighting the big idea that our peers or the people around us can support or threaten our own identities by treating us differently based on who we are or who we appear to be. In this case, students who are white passing or appear to be white are treated differently at Tulagi. And Cal is realizing that how people treat you can have a huge impact about how you feel about yourself and your own identity. This sentence also shows that Cal is developing an awareness of, and sometimes even conflicting attitudes toward race and identity. His relationship with his own race and finding out that he's Native American when he didn't know that previously transforms over the course of this novel. And this sentence is helping us to understand that there's likely a theme about identity running through this novel. So as you are continuing to read in class and out of class, when you are thinking about theme, consider analyzing your texts and your sentences for ideas about identity to help you along the way.